This episode of Fertile Talks is sponsored by ILMeds.co, an international mail order pharmacy specializing in fertility medications. If you're looking to save significantly on your fertility treatments without compromising on quality, ILMeds.co is an excellent choice, offering up to 80% of retail prices. And as a special offer to our listeners, use the code FT24 at checkout to receive a $50 discount on your order. For your convenience, you can find a link to their website in the episode show notes. Thank you, and let's get started. Welcome to Fertile Talks, the global podcast celebrating the diversity of fertility journeys. I'm your host, Dr. Yemi Famuyiwa. Whether you're just starting or simply curious, this is your safe space. In each episode, we will bring you expert insights, heartfelt personal stories, and the latest in reproductive health. Our goal is to break down barriers, tackle stigma, and provide support and hope. So whether you're in the Americas, Africa, or Asia, Fertile Talks is your companion on the path to parenthood. Thank you for tuning in and welcome to Fertile Talks. Hello everyone, this is yours truly, Dr. Famuyiwa, and we have a special guest today who is going to be joining us. So let me tell our audience a little bit about you. So this is Miss Yifat Shaltiel, correct?
Yes,
She is
correct.
an attorney. She is also the author of Save Money on Surrogacy, and she is the CEO of Surrogacy Steps. So Surrogacy Steps is a full service agency that guides intended parents as well as gestational carriers through the entire process with compassion and transparency. Yifat, welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes, and it's surrogate steps. So
Surrogacy.
yeah,
Okay,
surrogate
gotcha.
steps. But yes, we've been doing this for over 14 years. I've been an attorney for 20 years doing this now. So very long time. Thank you.
Excellent. Excellent. So excited to have you. So
Yeah.
let's start out with Yifat. Tell us the very basics. A lot of people hear the word surrogacy, but they're not sure what it truly means. So what can you walk us through what is surrogacy and what are the different types of surrogacy?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so yeah, there are two different types of
Mhm.
surrogacies. There's what is called a traditional surrogate, which a lot of people think that that is what surrogacy really is, but in reality, it's a very small amount of people that actually do traditional
Uh,
surrogacy, which I'll explain in a second. And then
mhm.
there is what we call gestational surrogacy, where it's a gestational carrier.
Right.
So the difference is that in traditional surrogacy,
All right.
the woman herself, the surrogate, is going
Yeah.
to be carrying a child for another couple or another
Right.
person.
Yeah.
But that child is going to be genetically related to her. So
Mhm.
basically, the surrogate is also, in effect, the egg
The egg
donor
one.
as
Correct.
well. So she's the
Um,
egg donor and the surrogate. Now, the legal complexities around that, I can't even start to tell you. It is very different than what we do today, mostly, which is gestational surrogacy. So in gestational surrogacy, the surrogate is going to become, and many times we call her gestational carrier. She's going to become pregnant for someone else, but the child
right.
she's carrying now will in no way be genetically related to her. So the
Right.
child now is going to be related either to the intended parents
Mhm.
or another egg donor.
Okay.
So and under no case will it be her child.
Okay, so let me sort of break this down because people are going, what are you talking about? So we're talking about couples who have gone through the process of in vitro fertilization. That means we've gotten an egg either from one of the intended parents or from an egg donor. We fertilize it with the partner, and now we have an embryo, correct? And in the
Correct.
US, we always test to make sure that that embryo is genetically normal because not all embryos are created equal.
Correct.
And
Yes.
yeah, and now we're going to take the surrogate and we're going to prepare the surrogate and place the embryo in the surrogate, correct?
Exactly. So a lot of the families that proceed with surrogacy in general, and again, when we say surrogacy, we are really 98% of the time referring to gestational surrogacy.
Correct.
So when they pursue that, we're looking at couples that have gone through infertility. So this is the only means of them having a child, or same-sex community, or single parents that need an egg donor as well as a uterus sometimes. And we're also looking at people who have medical conditions that necessitate them to have a family through surrogacy.
Correct.
Yeah.
Excellent. Like I have a patient now who was diagnosed with endometrial cancer and had to have a hysterectomy right away. And she's
Yeah.
only 30 years old. She has her ovaries, but she was diagnosed with endometrial cancer and needed the surgery to save her life. So in the future, she would be using a gestational surrogate to help have the family that she wants to build.
Yes, exactly right. We also have a lot of same-sex couples, same different situation, but also they need a gestational carrier to have their own children.
Awesome. So now you are the CEO of Surrogacy Steps. It's one of the most respected agencies in the country.
Thank
And
you.
awesome. So what makes a surrogacy agency essential in this case?
So, when you're looking to proceed with
Mhm,
surrogacy, the
mhm.
intended parents will need to create embryos. Obviously, that's where you come
Right.
in Montgomery
Right.
Fertility.
Yes.
And they're also going to need a surrogate. So, when you're looking at that, you're going to say, well, where do I start? How do I even look for a surrogate?
Mhm,
And that is a very, very specialized field. And that is where a surrogacy agency is essential, because what we do at Surrogate Steps, for example, is we locate surrogates all the time.
mhm.
We screen them. There's an entire screening process that the surrogates will go through before we even will show her profile to an intended parent who needs a surrogate. So that things like that are going to include reviewing her medical records, making sure she's mentally fit to be a surrogate, that she's physically fit to be
Right.
a surrogate, that she has
Right.
a good support system in place.
Yes.
So and things like also criminal background checks, financial stability checks, social
Correct.
media checks. So there is a lot that we do to make sure that someone is going to be an eligible surrogate, so that when the parents come to us, we're very experienced in this field, and so that they know when they're looking at a surrogate and being matched with a surrogate, that they can rely on this person to be a good gestational carrier for them.
Awesome. So, we're going to go into the legal and ethical considerations. And that's very, very important because I've had shockingly people tell me, oh, we went on a Facebook group and we found someone and we're going to use her. And I'm like, is there any agency or attorney involved? No, 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 it's going to be between us. I'm like, ooh, that can, what about what are the pitfalls?
Yeah.
You're in reproductive law, you're an attorney in reproductive law. Can you share some of the pitfalls and why people shouldn't do this?
Yeah, well, before I get to the law, I want to say that actually, Dr. Yemi, I literally just had a call from a colleague this very last week. She's an attorney, and the couple are attorney, and the couple are not using a surrogacy agency. They located their surrogate through social media surrogate through social media means, Facebook, I believe.
Yeah.
And that surrogate is not working with a surrogacy agency. So she has not been cleared by any agency. And when the surrogate went to my colleague friend, she disclosed to her the things that she did have a prior birth, but she does not have custody of any of her children. So the government keeps taking away her children, and it must be for a good reason. We don't know if there's also domestic violence in the house. And these are things that
Mhm.
would usually be screened for by an agency. So my colleague being an attorney, she now has attorney-client privilege restriction where she cannot go and just give all this information to the intended parent. So the best that she could really do is recuse herself and say, I'm not going to take this case. But these parents are still at risk if they do proceed with something like that. Now, when you are, so hopefully people will not be in that situation. But when you're proceeding with surrogacy, the legal aspects are very, very important, and you have to have them in place in order to even make sure that the intended parents' legal and parental rights are going to be recognized. So people will need, there's two-step process to the legal, and that is a two-step process if everything goes right. So the first step is that there will be a surrogacy agreement in place. This surrogacy agreement is going to be between the intended parents and the surrogate. Now, there's various names for such surrogacy agreements. Sometimes it's referred to as gestational surrogacy agreement, sometimes referred to as gestational carrier agreement, sometimes a surrogacy agreement, but it's going to lay out in very great detail all of the different factors and expectations and intentions of all the parties throughout the entire journey. So when you're looking at something like that, it is very, very important that the parents and the surrogate are independently represented. They have their own separate counsel so that there's no conflict of interest, as well as to make sure that the attorney that they are using is in fact licensed in the state that the law will be applicable, and
Yes.
also is specializes in surrogacy. So unfortunately, I have seen real estate attorneys try to write a surrogacy agreement, employment law attorneys, but even family law attorneys would not be qualified to do a surrogacy agreement. It is such a highly specialized
Okay,
field.
I'm being photobombed by.
Oh, so cute.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, the last thing you want your attorney to be doing when they're writing your contract is not understanding what needs to be in there, what should be in there, what shouldn't be in there. But also, you don't want them to be looking up on Google what an embryo is. That's the last thing you want. So, you definitely want someone who specializes in it.
Yes.
So I will say we do have a lot of free resources on our website, surrogatesteps.com. And one of those resources actually is a list of
Mhm.
surrogacy attorneys literally in every state. And to be on that list, we do require that the attorney not only specializes in surrogacy, but has done it for at least 5 years.
Excellent.
So
Excellent.
that is a good tool for people to use.
Now, I have so many questions popping up in my mind. The first thing I'm going to ask you now is, does it matter where the surrogate lives in relation to the parents?
So that is a very excellent question because I get parents asking me all the time, well, we live in New York, is that okay? So it actually doesn't matter where the parents live so much. What really is going to be applicable to the journey is the location of the surrogate and most
Uh,
likely the location of where the child will be born. That is going to be what we call in legal terminology the nexus of the case. And we're going to use that law to apply to the entire journey. So every state has their own laws when it comes to surrogacy. So sometimes people think that the law is the same throughout the United States. It's not. Every
Excellent.
state is very, very different. So
Mhm.
surrogacy is state law. It is
Mhm.
not federal law. So because of that, there are states where, based on the intended parent situation, it might be a good state for them or it might not be a good state for them. So things that can affect that type of legal decision will be, are we looking at a same-sex couple or heterosexual couple? Are the intended
Mhm.
parents single or
Mhm.
married? Is there going to be a genetic connection between the baby and any one of the intended parents? I can tell you that two of the states that people should definitely stay away from are going to be Mississippi and Nebraska. And
Ah,
again, we do have free tools on our website. So we actually also, under resources, we have an entire map of the United States with different colors that actually tells you exactly what the law is in every state and whether it's like green light, yes, you can proceed, or red, do not proceed.
awesome. So tell us, what is a birth order and why do you need it?
Yes. So the second part
Mhm,
of the legal process that intended parents and surrogates are going to need is going to be a
mhm,
birth order. There's a lot of different names for this. Sometimes people refer to it as parentage order. There is
mhm,
pre-birth order, post-birth order.
mhm.
But basically, what it is a court-ordered document, court-ordered, that indicates that the intended parents are the legal parents of their child and the only parents of their child, so that the surrogate is not going to be the legal parent. It's very clear that the intended parents are the legal parents. And we start that process at 14 weeks of pregnancy. So
Awesome.
once the surrogate reaches that 14-week point, we will notify the attorneys to start working on that birth order. And what we want to see is that we want to see that it's in place at about 22 weeks of pregnancy, which is when the baby is now viable. And we want to make sure that the intended parents receive certified copies of the birth order, that the surrogate has a certified copy, and
Yeah,
you also will want to make sure that the hospital receives a certified copy
he
as
wants
well.
to.
He's so cute. He's
Yeah,
so
she just keeps bothering me. So I'm like, okay, fine. She's welcome.
yeah. I have a
Awesome.
little one sleeping next to me. So yeah.
Awesome. Um, So I think so we now see that proper legal representation does matter. It does
Yes.
matter. I mean, I had a patient once who, this was many moons ago, who found this lady on Facebook somewhere in, I forgot, Chicago or Illinois or somewhere, and they started mailing that person her husband's sperm on their own
Oh
and
my
asking
gosh.
her to inseminate herself. So then the person said, "Oh yeah, I'm pregnant," and would say, "Okay, I'm going to the doctor's office." And for like 6 months was collecting money, and she wasn't even pregnant, and they fell prey to that. So
Wow.
this is not a DIY, do it yourself
It,
project.
it is it is not, and I really want to emphasize it's not just the legal, it's also the medical facility. You do not want to do this outside of
Yes,
a medical facility without a
yes.
physician. And that is because when you do that, there's going to be no way to prove that you actually did this through surrogacy, because there's no intercourse in surrogacy. It is very, very clear
Yes.
how the surrogate is to get pregnant. There was actually a case law out of Kansas, where this became a huge issue. It was same-sex female couple who used a sperm donor, but they did in-home insemination outside of a medical facility,
Mhm.
and they had a baby. Years later, the couples they broke up. They got a divorce, and the one of the moms that kept the baby, she had custody. She started receiving welfare payments through the mail. And what happened was that the government found out that there was a sperm donor, because they asked her who the father was. And she said it was a sperm donor, but she could not prove that there was, in fact, a donor, because it was in home insemination, not with a medical facility. And because of that, the state actually held the donor responsible for child support payments.
Parental support.
Exactly. So you don't want to get into the messiness of not
Yes.
having
Yes.
medical facility
Yes.
present. And some states do require that by law, that if you're doing surrogacy, it needs to be with a physician.
Now let me ask you a tricky question, and now I'll go to the next one. What about um couples who are, now I know some American couples can get a surrogate in the state of Georgia, for instance, and they used to go to Ukraine before the war.
Mhm.
Can it be the reverse? Can people from Europe use a surrogate in the US?
Yeah, absolutely. International intended parents do come here to the US to do surrogacy here. And many times it's the only way they can do surrogacy, because their country does not allow surrogacy.
Right.
So we get people, our agency doesn't work a lot with international intended parents. We do have
Mhm.
some international intended parents, but we've worked with parents from France, from
Awesome.
Israel, Parents from Italy come, from Australia come. So many people, the only way that they can even have a family is through surrogacy, and it's
Yes,
just unfortunately not an option in their country. So they
excellent.
come here to the US, and the US does provide, it's very good for surrogacy because we have such good laws
Mhm.
here. We are very progressive with our laws when it comes to surrogacy. So people can really rely on the laws and know that they will be protected and that their
Awesome.
legal
Awesome.
rights and parental rights will be protected here. And also the medical care in the
Yes.
US is very good.
Exactly.
So,
So if anything happens to the baby, you're getting good, you can afford,
right.
get good care. Now,
Exactly.
you literally wrote the book on saving money and surrogacy. I want everyone to go to Amazon. It's called Save Money on Surrogacy. If you are, it's not a very hard read. It's a very, I was going to bring it with me today. Do you have a
Here,
copy
I
with
I
you?
have it.
Right there, there you go.
Yeah.
And show them how thick it is. It's not, you
Yeah,
can read
it's
it.
not.
Yeah. I
It's
think I've read that book. You gave it to
thank
me.
you.
Um, if you're going to go through this process, you need to read the book before you start because there's a lot of so-called agencies out there who are not real agencies. They're not lawyers. They're almost I don't know what it is, but they involve a lot of DIY in their agency, which can put a lot of stress on patients. So if you're going to go through this, please go to Amazon. It's called Save Money on Surrogacy. Now, can you tell us
Thank
some
you.
of the biggest financial pitfalls the families fall into, and how can they avoid them?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it's not a very long book. It's 20 years reduced to like a little bit over 100 pages, and literally every page includes how people can save money on their surrogacy journey. I specifically wrote it because I really want people to know that this is an affordable option for them.
Yes.
So they don't have to just stop. They can proceed with surrogacy, and they can afford it if they are being a smart consumer.
Yeah.
There are so many things. I'll just highlight a couple. One of the big ones, because this is like one of the most big ones, I can save a lot of money. Not only having the right agency, because that can be disastrous if you don't, but also health insurance. So the last thing you want to do is proceed with a surrogacy journey and not know what your surrogate's health insurance status is like. So you want to make sure that your surrogate has good health insurance in place that is going to cover the surrogacy pregnancy and delivery. So many people just are under the assumption that if the surrogate has health insurance, that's fine, we're good to go. But it's actually not the case because there are many plans, many health insurance plans that have what we call a surrogacy exclusion,
Exclusion.
which
Correct.
means that, yes, we're going to cover the member if the member is pregnant, but we are not going to provide any coverage if she's pregnant for someone else. So, which, so yeah, so that can be disastrous because it can end up costing the parents over $100,000 of medical bills. So I had years ago, I had another colleague call me, and they had a situation where their intended parents did a third journey with the same surrogate. And the first two journeys were fine. She had the same health insurance throughout. And the first two journeys, the health insurance covered everything. They were just normal pregnancies. But the last pregnancy was a high risk pregnancy, and it ended up costing a lot of money. So that meant that now the insurance, they decided to investigate that to see what is going on. Why was there a high risk pregnancy? Well, when they did that, they found out that the member who was pregnant was also acting as a surrogate. And
Ooh.
they found out that the prior two pregnancies were also surrogacies. So they basically held a surrogate liable for all those medical expenses, refused to pay anything because she was a surrogate and they had an exclusion.
Mm.
So it's literally can be so, it's one of the biggest mistakes you can make of not doing an insurance review properly. And an insurance review is
Mhm.
something that an attorney should do or an insurance broker should do who specializes in surrogacy to specifically determine if this is a policy that you can use. So it's not enough that your surrogate has health insurance. You want to make sure that it is a policy that you can actually use. Now, if she doesn't have health insurance and if she doesn't have a policy she can use, then you want to be a smart consumer and figure out how are we going to get her health insurance where we don't necessarily have to purchase a private policy that's going to be out of pocket and cost about $30,000. So that's one of the things that we do and help people figure that out and make sure that surrogates have
So
good
they
insurance
can
policies.
they buy a separate insurance for the surrogate?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So there is a separate insurance policy that is a
Mhm.
private policy. It is very expensive. It's $30,000. So
Ah.
what we do is we look at other options to see how
Mhm.
else we can obtain a policy for the surrogate.
Mhm.
So for example, now we're coming up on open enrollment soon, which means that it's the easiest time to purchase a health insurance policy because you can just purchase one on the exchange through the open market. If it's not open market time, then you're going to want to look at other things. Is there a special enrollment situation, which is different in every state as to what every state considers what qualifies as a special enrollment situation for the surrogate to still enroll in insurance, even though it's not open enrollment. So
Awesome.
there are different things that you can do to keep those costs low. Another one is making sure you do have the right attorneys that do specialize in surrogacy, because if you don't, it can end up costing you a lot of money later on in the line because of the mistakes that they're making.
Right.
Another one is going to be you want to make sure that your surrogate is mentally fit to proceed with surrogacy.
Right.
So there is mental health evaluation.
Right.
Every good surrogacy agency will make sure that that happens, and we certainly require it for all the parties. And you really want to make sure that when the surrogate is proceeding with this, that she understands what she's getting into. She understands the time that it's going to take, everything she's going to need to do, that she's of the same mindset and has the same values as the intended parents when it comes to issues of potentially having to terminate a pregnancy, for example. So a lot of the nightmare case laws that we have seen have been specifically around that, where people were not on the same page
Right.
when it came to termination. So these are all things that a good mental health evaluator is going to make sure that everyone's on the same page and that your surrogate is in fact mentally fit.
Awesome. Awesome. So if you're watching live, we encourage you to ask questions. You can drop your questions in the chat and we'll take them as we go. Um, I have a question for you. So
Yeah.
how long does the surrogacy process usually take?
So, from start to finish, when parents come to us, it can take about 18 to 20 months.
Okay.
There are different things that happen during that time frame. Obviously, 9 months of that is pregnancy,
Right.
obviously. Um, the intended parents need to be matched with a surrogate. That can take time. It can be anywhere from 1 month to even 8 months. So, it just
Mhm.
depends. And then you're looking at once people are matched, we need to get medical clearance from the fertility clinic. We need to
Right.
do legal clearance. So all of that can take another approximately 2 to 3 months. And then you're
Mhm.
looking at the embryo transfer itself. So
Uh-huh.
typically, and this is very typical throughout the industry, that the surrogates do agree to do 3 embryo transfers within a period of 1 year from when they sign the contract with the intended parents. So if it doesn't work the first time, we're going to try again. But every time we try, obviously that can add to that timeline.
Yes.
So.
Awesome. Awesome.
Mhm.
Now, what are some of the red flags people should be aware of when choosing an agency?
Oh, sure. Yeah. A
Because we've
lot.
seen some horror stories in the news.
Oh
right?
my gosh, yeah, recently in California,
Yeah, exactly.
with the people that got arrested. Yeah, you
Right.
really have to be careful when you're working with a surrogacy agency. So the
Mhm,
issue is that surrogacy agencies, it's not regulated. It's an
mhm,
unregulated field.
mhm,
It's not like fertility clinics that who they are regulated. So to start, if you really want to make sure you're working with a good agency, the first thing you're going to want to do is make sure that they are licensed,
mhm,
because surrogacy agencies do have the option of getting licensed, and the only place they can get a license from right now is the state of New York, which requires surrogacy agencies to be licensed,
mhm.
and majority of surrogacy agencies are not licensed at all. So clearly the one in California was not licensed.
Right.
um yeah. Other red flags to look out for
Mhm.
are agencies that are not going to be transparent about their fees. So
Yeah.
you're going to want to make sure you understand the agency fees, and you also want not just understand it, but also understand what it's going to include and not include. So sometimes they'll give you a fee, but it's not going to include things like criminal background checks or other screening, or things like insurance reviews, or coordinating again the embryo transfer. So some agencies are going to charge you every time you have an embryo
Mhm,
transfer.
mhm.
So you want to make sure you understand all the fees, and you want an agency that is going to be transparent about it. And you want
Awesome.
an agency that is professional. So, like our agency, for example, we have two attorneys on staff. We have a registered nurse, we have an IVF nurse, we have other coordinators who are experienced surrogates themselves, who have been in this industry many years. So you really want to make sure that you are with someone who
Mhm.
is a professional, and that they understand both the medical aspect as well as the legal aspect, so that the intended parents are really getting their money's worth and making sure that they are fully protected in all angles.
Awesome. So, on a side note, so you are going to be with us this coming
Yes.
Next Saturday, right?
Yes, actually, pretty much almost everyone on our team will be there. Yeah.
Excellent. So we're going to have Fertile Walk 2025, and it's really an informative walk kind of thing. Yeah, you'll stretch your legs a
Hmm.
little bit,
Hmm.
and Yifat is going to be there, so you can bring your questions to her. You're going to learn a lot on this walk because we also have partnered with a fitness slash nutrition expert, and I see he's on the live right now. Hi,
Oh,
Joe.
great.
So Joe Loza is going to be leading us through warm up and cool down, and he's with Team Eckenrod. So I want this to be a very informative event. So you can save your questions, or better still, go buy the book, and she
Yes.
can sign it for you. How
Oh,
about that?
I'd be
Bring
happy
your
to.
book to the walk, and she'll sign it for you.
Yeah.
So, Yifat, if people want to get a hold of you, where can they find you?
So all of our information are at surrogatesteps.com. You
All
can
right.
follow me at the surrogacy attorney.
Okay.
You can email me at at surrogatesteps.com.
Awesome. Awesome. So thank you so much for your time
My
this
pleasure.
afternoon. And I look forward to working with you on
Yes.
Saturday. Yay!
Yes, we're very, very excited. We have our shoes ready.
Awesome. Awesome. So with that said,
Okay.
thank you to everybody that joined us and for the people to watch. If you have any questions, dump it in the comment. I can always get it to her. And if you're in the neighborhood, come out. You do have to RSVP though. So look on our website,
Mhm.
montgomeryfertilitycenter.com. RSVP there. Let us know you're coming. Right. And we'll see you Saturday. Thank you for tuning in to Fertile Talks. We hope today's episode has provided you with valuable insights and support for your fertility journey. Remember, you are not alone. Now, if you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover, please simply leave us a comment. And please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe with a friend. Your ratings, your shares, and your reviews are greatly appreciated and is going to help us serve more of our listening audience. Thank you once again. This is Dr. Famuyiwa.